Hello, everyone, once again. This is Rob, and welcome back to Media Awareness. And Happy New Year to everyone. It is New Year's Eve, and it is time for the top 20 album countdown here on Media Awareness. I've expanded the countdown this year to 20 because there are so many albums that came out this year that were just outstanding, and I wanted to shrug away from having too many honorable mentions, so we have expanded the top 20, and I still have honorable mentions. However, before I even start this countdown, I do want to remind you all that the fundraiser continues. For those of you new to my channel or unaware, I am a disabled individual and I use a motorized wheelchair slash scooter all day, every day for my independence, and I need your help. My insurance will not cover anything with regard to my scooter, as they view it as a quote luxury item end quote. Despite the fact that I am unable to walk whatsoever, in addition to being unable to use any other type of scooter or power chair, or even a standard wheelchair for that matter, as I only have limited dexterity in one hand. In addition to that, I do not have a backup scooter or wheelchair to rely on at the current time. So if my scooter does malfunction as it recently did, I will yet again be a fish out of water, a scenario I want to avoid at any cost. With that stated, below the title of this video and the description, as well as in a separate section below the information pertaining to this top 20 countdown, you can find a spot fund link. It is a fundraiser, it is easy to contribute. You can even contribute anonymously. Any and all help is welcome. Even $5 or $10 can make the biggest difference in the world. What I am endeavoring to do at the current time is both refurbish my existing scooter entirely so that it is like new once again. It is from 2019 and it's almost 2025. So, the clock is ticking and the parts are not getting any younger, like myself. So, with that stated, I'm continuing ongoing refurbishing of my existing scooter, but at the same time, I'm also saving for a new scooter as well. Recently, my scooter had malfunctioned, the battery charging mechanism had failed entirely, and for roughly 2 weeks I had to rely on family and friends to push me around my own home, severely limiting my independence and really giving me a long overdue wake up call to what was really important, and that is having a working scooter at all times. Therefore, if I have a new scooter to use on a daily basis, if something goes wrong with that, I will have a perfectly good and operational refurbished model to rely on in any case. That way, I'm never without my independence, as I do pride myself on that. And although I'm not 100% independent, I do thrive on the things I can do. So any and all support is welcome. Please do what you can at the spot from below. And I do want to extend a gracious thanks to those who have contributed thus far, in addition to those who plan on contributing, as your contributions have and will make a world of difference in my life. Thank you all. I love you all. If you're not yet subscribed to Media Awareness, please consider subscribing to my channel. I do album reviews, I do video reactions, I do book reviews, reviews, and even music news at times, and much, much more. So, please consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed, and also like and share and let me know your favorite albums of 2024 and or your favorite artists and favorite songs. I'd love to know. So, here we are on New Year's Eve, and I have a few honorable mentions as stated. So I'm going to cover those first, and we will then head into the top 20. So, my first honorable mention goes to Neil Morris and his latest project. It is Neil Morris No Hills for a Climber. This album is really good, but it just didn't quite connect with me the way some of Neil's other works have. And I really can't explain why. It is a great album, just so you're aware. So this one I did not get to review, but it just didn't connect with me at all. So that is the first honorable mention. The second honorable mention is David Gilmour, Looking Strange. And this album really, uh, uh, it's a good album. It's a good David Gilmour album. It's a great David Gilmour album, actually. And he did work with a different producer than he has worked with before on any of his other solo work. However, it is pretty much, at the end of the day, paint by number David Gilmour. It is really um, the perfect David Gilmour album, but at the same time, it is very much what is to be expected from David Gilmour at this point in time. Basically, another entry in the Pink Floyd catalog, as far as I'm concerned, which is not a complaint, but I feel that it should have been uh, called a Pink Floyd album nonetheless. So, with that stated, moving on to the next honorable mention, we got Judas Priest, Invincible Shield. And this was a great album, um, but it didn't have anything that really was necessarily new that would really knock my socks off. And the songs are great, the album is great, but it's a standard Judas Priest album, albeit a great standard Judas Priest album. So now we move into the top 20 of this countdown, and starting at number 20, we have Neil Morris, The Redeemer, Joseph Part 2. I did review this album as well as Joseph Part 1 um, last year, The Dreamer. This album did make the top 20 at number 20. This album is really a great, solid progressive rock album, and it tells the second half of the story of Joseph. Um, and this one really has a lot less spiritual overtones than the previously mentioned Neil Morris album. That was an honorable mention. And I find that really interesting for this one being more religiously themed. But it is a really solid album. Tells a great story. I would recommend listening to The Dreamer Part 1 before listening to The Redeemer Joseph Part 2. But it is a great album nonetheless. So moving on from there, we have number 19, which is Nightwish, Yesterwind, as it's pronounced. This album is at number 19, and it really is an album that and I said this in my review, it's more progressive metal slash symphonic metal than strictly symphonic metal. That, and I really feel that the vocals are strong, the lyrics are strong. It's a powerful album with a powerful message, and is one that I would definitely recommend to anyone who is getting into Nightwish. This is a good place to start, really. Moving on to number 18, The Cure, Songs from a Lost World. And this album is a really fantastic entry in The Cure's catalog. It is a long overdue entry. In my opinion, we have waited quite a few years for a Cure album, and unfortunately, I do not have this album in my hands to show you, much like the previous albums, but the Cure album itself is a great album nonetheless, and I do highly recommend it, and I do hope to have it within my grasp very soon. Moving on to number 17, we have Steve Hackett, The Circus, and The Night Whale. Which I have right here. Um, and this album is a really great album. It's semi autobiographical, so it is a concept album, and it ranks in at number 17 as opposed to um, uh, the legendary David Gilmour, who was an honorable mention. Steve Hackett has really expanded on this album to playing a lot new, intricate, and really groundbreaking guitar parts that were really impressive to me. So therefore, this album really came in a lot higher for me on this countdown. Number 16 is Tim Bowness with Powder Dry. This was a surprise to me how great this album actually was and is. Um, it's Tim Bowness' first album on his new label, and it is really powerful album, really powerful lyrics, and great musical uh, translation of the emotion behind the lyrics themselves. And Tim really does a great job on his vocals on this album as well. So I really like this one a lot. And once again, that was number 16. Number 15, we have Bruce Dickinson, The Mandrake Project. This album is really spectacular. Um, Bruce Dickinson's solo work always resonated with me more so than his work with Iron Maiden. And I've said this in my review of this album, but it really does have a powerful lyrical composition. Vocals are really strong, and Bruce is getting up there in age, but you would not know it from his overall performance on this album. So once again, that is Bruce Dickinson, The Mandrake Project, number 15. At number 14, we have The Black Crowes with Happiness Bastards. This album is a phenomenal album from beginning to end. It is traditional Black Crowes but with a more modern edge and really topical lyrics for our modern day and age, in my opinion. And I just love it. It is the Black Crowes. They're back, and let's hope that they stay back for some time to come. At number 13, we have Beth Hart. You Still Got Me. And this is an album that I wanted to review in the worst way. However, it was released on a very sad day for me. I'd lost my dog, and I was not in any place whatsoever to really do any kind of review of a blues based album. However, this album has some incredible vocals and lyrics from Beth. Um, Along with some great guest performances, including Eric Gales and Slash, just to name a few. And they are just powerful songs, powerful lyrics, and above all, Beth and her amazing vocals just hammering it home at the end of the day for all of us as fans. At number 12, we have Pearl Jam with Dark Matter. And this is an album I've shown before during many of my other Pearl Jam videos. This is a phenomenal album. It is a great entry into the Pearl Jam catalog, but takes Pearl Jam into yet a further and different direction than prior. Their albums always seem to go in these different directions, and this one is a lot more. It's a lot more punk, like Iggy Popish, but it's also uh, venturing into some progressive realms for some of the tracks, as well as some classic rock um, influences as well. There's a lot to be heard on this album. I've also reacted to a few performances on my channel, so you can check those out as well. But you can also find the full review of this as well. This is a phenomenal Pearl Jam album and one not to be missed. At number 11, we have Marilyn Manson, One Assassination Under God, Chapter 1. And this album is really a treat. It is real concise in its listening arrangement and its length, but it's powerful in that regard as well. And it really has a lot to say. There's been, a lot of reflection on the part of Brian Warner, considering the past few years what he's been going through, and it can all be really heard in its most, I would say, vulnerable state on this album. Once again, that is Marilyn Manson, One Assassination Under God, Chapter 1. Check this one out. So we have hit the top 10 in this top 20 countdown. And this is where it starts to get exciting, as if it hasn't been exciting already. So we have at number 10, John Anderson and the Band Geeks with True. This album is really the long overdue Yes album that I think Yes fans like myself have been pining for quite some time. It is Yes, but it is not Yes, and it is one of John Anderson's finest solo works to date. Probably one of my favorite John Anderson solo work. But it is John Anderson and the Band Geeks. not to be confused with John's other solo work or other collaborative efforts. So this is um, really a phenomenal album from beginning to end, and also there is a lot of uh, callbacks to classic Yes on this album. Just a really, really fine album, and really excellently performed and recorded. At number 9, we have McGee. 2 stars. I'm sorry, 2 star and The Dream Police. This is an amazing album. I would define it, quite frankly, as lo-fi uh, in terms of sound and presentation, with powerful lyrics, really unique arrangements, and an emphasis more on emotion and the lyrical and musical delivery of that emotion and raw in that aspect as well. Really a great album and a great surprise at the end of this year. At number 8, we have Black Country Communion with their album 5, or V. This album is just a powerful album. There's not much more I could say about it. It features, of course, Glenn Hughes, Joe Bonamassa, Derek Sherlinian, and Jason Bonham. A powerful band, a super group, if you will, and a real powerful fifth studio album from this band, one not to be missed. At number 7, we have Frost with Life in the Wires. This is a 2 CD set, um, and it is an incredible concept piece. It is really an amazing um, story that we get to follow on this album, and I really can't stop listening to this. Once again, number 7, Frost, Alive in the Wires. At number 6, we have The Pineapple Thief with It Leads to This, and an EP that was recently released, which is sort of a continuation of It Leads to This, and that is, of course, Last to Run. Now, these two albums, in my opinion, fit together like a cohesive piece and should be experienced as such. And they really have a great performance on them by the whole band. You got some amazing lyrics from Bruce Sword, as always, really emotional and very relatable. Some great playing from the band itself, amazing drumming, of course, from Gavin Harris, and just some great work from the band as a whole. And once again, that's The Pineapple Thief, both It Leads to This and Last to Run. At number 5, we have Have with Baby I'm the Wolf. Now, this album really, really knocked my socks off. It blew me away. Uh, her vocals are really clean on this album. There's very little effects, if any, on her vocals, and the musical delivery is just phenomenal. Her band is great, and the lyrical and musical composition is just unparalleled. And really, highly recommend this. Unfortunately, I was unable to obtain a physical copy of this one, much to my dismay. But it is a great album nonetheless, and I do have the MP3 album on my computer because it is just that good. At number 4 on the top 20 countdown, we have Hasse Framberg, musical companion, Eternal Snapshots. This album was really a pleasant surprise for me. It was one that was unexpected, and it was one I stumbled across by accident. But I've been a long time uh, fan of Hasse and his work with the Flower Kings, and of course his work with his side project, the musical companion. And this is just a really breathtaking album from beginning to end. I highly recommend it. And once again, Hasse Framberg, musical companion, Eternal Snapshots. At number 3 on this countdown, we have 6 by 6 Beyond Shadowland. Now, this is an album that was unexpected for me when it was initially announced, but I was really excited. I'm a huge fan of these guys. It is a supergroup by all descriptions, and it is a powerful album from an amazing trio at that. So definitely check out 6 by 6 Beyond Shadowland. At number 2, we have The Tangent with To Follow Polaris, aka Tangent for One. This album came in at number 2, and I want to explain this. Both the album itself is both powerful lyrically, very topical in terms of today's society and what we're living through, what we experience on a day to day basis. But also, this album has more than that going for it. It was all recorded and performed by Andy Tillotson himself. He composed and performed everything that you hear on this album. His vocals are phenomenal on this album, and he really makes this album sound like an entire band. And that is what really impressed me about this the most was the fact that if you didn't know any better, you would swear you're listening to any other Tangent album with a full band. Yet it is only Andy on this album, which makes it just a breath of fresh air and really an amazing feat to really experience and listen to. And number 1 on the Media Awareness Top 20 Countdown for 2024, Liam Gallagher and John Squire. This album, I feel, may have been overshadowed by the Oasis reunion that was announced, and it is an album that should not be missed. Every song on this album is amazing. They're clever. They get really infectiously stuck in your head, and the performances are really just undeniably fantastic all around. So definitely check out Liam Gallagher and John Squire, the number one pick for this year's Media Awareness Top 20 Countdown. And it is just a phenomenal album from beginning to end. So, yes, we are at the end of the Top 20 Countdown. I hope you all enjoyed and maybe are going to experience new things by checking out some of these artists you may not have heard of before, or even just listening to these albums once again, as they are really standout albums in my opinion. And this is Media Awareness, and once again, Happy New Year to everyone out there. And a reminder, the fundraiser continues. Please do what you can. Any and all help is welcome. And have a wonderful morning, noon, or night wherever you are. Be safe. Happy New Year once again. And I will see you in 2025.